idea.
Hey, it's a new year. It's a new Svelte. Maybe not yet. Not Svelte 4 yet. But yeah. Hi, welcome everyone. It's another episode of Svelte Radio with the regular hosts, me, Sean, and Antony. What have you guys been up to since last time?
Just a lot of sleeping and relaxing during the holidays, and then trying to remember how to work in January.
I really identify with that. I haven't been doing as much as I wanted to over the holidays. Mostly eating food.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm probably the same. I've done fewer sleeping, and I think, yeah. I mean, I took a break. From Beyonc, for like, how long was it? Like 10 days maybe over Christmas, which is the longest I've ever stopped working on Beyonc. And,
how did it feel?
It's good. I didn't come back like full of energy and raring to go or anything like that. I thought I could do another 10 days, but I definitely came back feeling like I'm glad I took this 10 days, and I don't know what I would have done otherwise. So definitely, like, it's a good thing. I'm strongly in favor of Christmas right now.
Yeah. If you're a travel company, is the holidays, isn't it more busy?
Well, no. So travel company is a kind of bucket term.
Very broad term.
I would say that we're more like an experiences company, and in the UK especially, that's quite seasonal because people don't like to go outdoors when it's cold because it's cold, I guess. So we're actually very active in summer and a lot less active in winter, which means that I get to stay in the house and have like pasty white skin all the time because I'm really busy in summer and can't leave the house.
Nice. Cool. So any other status updates? I see you got on here, Sean.
Oh, actually, I don't know if this matters at all. Yeah, so during the winter break or during the holiday break, I really wanted to get more practical experience with SvelteKit. So I made my own starter template called swyx, and people seem to like it a lot. Basically, I took one of the popular blog templates from Next.js from Lee Robinson and ported it to Svelte. And it had all the opinions that I would want, but also helped me to understand a few breaking changes in SvelteKit. And I think the main thing that I really struggled with was I am very used to generating all my pages up front. That's the traditional static site generator mode. And now switching everything, I think now the new trend is that, you want your pages to be dynamically generated on request so that build times are lower. But the trade-off that comes with that is that you have to have your data available on request at all times. And sometimes, for example, if you're reading the local file system, it's no longer there when it's on request, and I struggled with that. I spent like 3 hours trying to debug this. So anyway, what I have so far is available on swyx, and people can clone it and for their own starters. I think we just need more starters for people. So it was a good experiment for me.
Yeah,
nice,
cool.
I suppose if we talk about projects as well, the one little bit of computing I did over the holidays, because I was on a train between families going up and down the country. I bought some of these little Node MCU things, which is basically like a little tiny chip on a board, and it costs about, I don't know, $2 or something. And I was trying to get like SvelteKit hosted on one so I could build little, home automation things. I got static site running and posted it on Twitter, but people pointed out that it's basically just static hosting on a little machine, which is fair enough. If you saw how hard it was to get to that stage, then you'd understand. But
yeah.
Then I thought, well, that's cool. Why can't I run a proper Node environment? It is called a Node MCU. Anyway, it turns out Node MCU is a misnomer. It's nothing to do with Node. I mean, it definitely isn't. But it can run a JavaScript like environment, but it's so low powered that a lot of stuff you rely on, especially for SvelteKit, just isn't there. I even struggled to get Polka running on it. So
wow.
I think that probably it's a bit low powered for that kind of stuff. That you could get it running like a proper SvelteKit app, but you'd have to write a very custom adapter with lots of shimming like we do for kind of Cloudflare and stuff. Because a lot of the core stuff you rely on isn't there. But it's fun. It's really fun to play with these, and you install one bit of software on your machine and deploy to it.
Is it just like a tiny version of something like a Raspberry Pi without all the bells and whistles and stuff?
It's more like a tiny version of one of the chips on the Raspberry Pi.
All right.
The reason I like this Node MCU one particularly, it's called ESP8266 actually. But the reason I like it is because normally when you're trying to program a chip like this, you have to have another Arduino in between, which does like a serial port conversion. This has actually got it built in. So once you plug this into USB, you can just write directly to it from your machine, which saves a load of like steps and wiring and stuff like that. So, if you're trying to get started, this might be a nice way to skip that intermediate step of configuring things that write to other things and having to configure that in between. So.
Yeah. It's always with the configs and stuff. It's always the stuff that really stops you from actually doing stuff.
Well, it's a lot harder when you've actually got the only output from this is a serial port. There's no video output at all or anything like that. So you've got on this board one single LED and you have to derive all sorts of stuff from one LED. How slow it flashes. It's like Morse code. But again, it's part of the challenge, right? It's $2, £2. It's £1.60.
Yeah.
It's
that's
very,
crazy.
very cheap.
All right, cool. So, so I guess we can talk a bit about what's new in Svelte and SvelteKit.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Svelte Summit recap. So Svelte Summit isn't actually over yet. Surprise. There's there's one more event that's coming. But for now, you can actually watch all of the, it looks like it's 22 talks on the playlist. And it's got everything from testing in Svelte to WordPress and Svelte and Greenfield and Brownfield apps, PHP and Svelte. You've got all kinds of fun stuff. So you should definitely check that out. And there's also the Stockholm meetup happened and the London meetup as well as like a small mini edition. These all have like the talks that are in the playlist. So you can just watch the playlist to catch up on the talks that were showed on those events. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. What's the best way for people to find out about upcoming events?
So for now, it's probably the Svelte Discord. So there's an event thing on there that you can check out.
Okay.
But in the near future, there's going to be an event list on the Svelte Society website, and that's going to be more up to date. So that will be announced as soon as it's available.
Yeah, gotcha.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then there's also the Svelte Sirens website if you want to watch Svelte Sirens talks, but we'll go through that later.
I should also say that I guess me and Antony had met for the first time at Svelte Summit. We had a very nice dinner at the Thai place that Rich liked, but Rich wasn't there. and then we all met up the day after for Svelte Summit, and I thought it went really well on the New York City side.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't remember whether it was we'd had a podcast since we met.
Yeah, I can't remember either. I'm gonna actually gonna look, because if we didn't, we have to talk about that, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
It feels like we didn't.
Yeah, I don't think so, because that's how I was like saying about we should have a Svelte Summit. Yeah, so exactly. It's been a while.
So the last episode was actually November 12th.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we were almost 2 months after last. So let's talk about Svelte Summit, I guess.
Yeah.
Just feels like it happened a long time ago. So yeah. So I guess the two of you didn't really experience the event live the same way I did, since you guys had to, there was a documentary being recorded and you had to turn off the sound, like the audio and stuff all the time, right? Well, how was the watch party?
I think it's interesting because you have a plan of going to this big conference, and you know it's going to be quite long, and you imagine how that will work. People sitting there for kind of 4 hours. You imagine sound setups, visual setups, stuff like that, running around organizing. I think it was fun, because it was a lot of it was like meet and greet to start with, people that we'd been working with or talked to for a very long time, and we'd never actually met them in person. I think then the next part of that was, once we got all the visual setup and stuff, actually it's very hard to sit there and focus on something in a large space. So a lot of our watching was done kind of afterwards, when it wasn't live. And a lot of what we're doing there with people was discussing ideas and talking and socializing, really. So it's a lot different to a conference, I guess, where you're not necessarily running it. So yeah, it was definitely a different experience than I think you had watching it. I would say also, like, as always, and this happens again and again, the sound setup is never loud enough to drown out the excitement of people. So
yeah, so Rich did, what would you call it, like the state of Svelte?
Yes.
State of something like that, showing like the download numbers and some other stuff. I don't exactly remember what else he showed, but it was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, the two very much live talks were recorded there and then.
As usual, the technical difficulties showed up during Svelte Summit.
Yeah, I think my reflection from that is that we needed someone to be the bridge, and it should not be me, because I was trying to be MC plus AV guy plus it's someone hard watching the talk and making sure that we're available when you need us.
Yeah. Well,
hopefully we'll take those learnings, for the Stockholm event.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I guess that's used for sponsorship money, right? Is to hire an MC who isn't actually interested in Svelte at all or anything technical, that they just manage sound and visuals, because they're not distracted, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll make a huge difference for sure.
Yeah.
So the event was a lot of fun. Like, a lot of people liked it. A lot of people watched it. The talks were great. Yeah, I guess that pretty much sums it up. We had some difficult technical issues with me forgetting to turn on my mic a couple of times. That was so bad.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, what I really enjoyed seeing the most was after the event, people really coming to life, and I think that's the point of holding events. You can have Svelte Society on Twitter and Discord, but it's always a low energy background, always on thing. But you need all these spikes in the community for people to realize, like, okay, there are a lot of people interested, and I can find my groups. So yeah, I really like seeing, like, London having a meetup, Stockholm having a meetup, and then the Sirens really getting together, because all the three leaders of the Sirens groups, 3 or 4. Actually,
I don't remember. We'll have them on.
Exactly. Yeah. They were at Svelte Summit, and it was just like a really nice thing. So, like, now they're really bonded because they've all met and talked to each other.
Yeah.
Well, they've not all met, but they've mostly met.
Oh, right.
Working on the last bit.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to the London meetup, but COVID,
Old Rona.
Yeah. It's getting old now. Anyway.
The thing is that the London meetup as well, because the place we held it at hadn't really been open since the first Svelte meetup, in terms of, like, for running conferences and stuff. They'd taken down all the infrastructure and they put it up again in a kind of a rush. So the sound definitely wasn't there. There was various audio and visual issues. So we're going to have actually a meeting with them in the next few days, just to figure out, like, what would be our ideal setup there. We have multiple venues to run it in, and some of them are better than others in terms of, like, their setup. But we also like to support all these venues, because obviously the one we ran it in last time was a bar, and that bar obviously struggles every time there's a lockdown. It really struggles. And it's a friend of mine's bar, and I know how hard it is for them to keep running, and it's a really nice bar. So I do like to try and hold it there sometimes. So hopefully that'll mean that we have then a better number of free venues that are good to host things in. And so, yeah, that's the goal with that one, because I think it's, it was definitely problematic, and I wasn't there at the start, unfortunately, to talk to the right people and stuff. So,
yeah. Well, again, you live, you learn, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into some Svelte stuff, some actual Svelte stuff. What's actually new in Svelte? Anyone want to chime in?
Well, I guess the most poignant one maybe is this Rich interview with Vesel about Rust and things like that. So Vesel is a company that's really doubled down on Rust. Apparently, they're kind of all in on Rust. And obviously Svelte is written in JavaScript, as you might imagine. I haven't heard this interview. I've seen the after chat in a maintainer's channel, and I think that Rust is it's an interesting one because obviously it's kind of where a lot of JavaScript tooling is going for a variety of reasons, and it solves a lot of problems that you find that TypeScript obviously attempts to solve and things as well. But it comes with a lot of caveats too. So one really obvious one being that no one actually knows Rust. And if you write, yeah, and if you write something in Rust that was previously in JavaScript, you do kind of put a barrier for new contributors because you then are looking at a pool of basically Rust contributors because it's quite a different language. Yeah, I don't know. Has anyone got any other opinions on Rust and JS tooling?
No, I don't.
None at all.
I don't know. No.
Fair enough.
Well, I mean, so I guess the reason to rewrite it in Rust would be to speed it up. Is that the...
Which is a weird one because it's not slow.
Yeah.
Compilation has never been a bottleneck for Svelte.
Especially since you do it beforehand, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. I've never seen an application that takes ages to compile Svelte. I mean, it's usually like a few seconds, if that. Might be milliseconds. Who knows? And I think the other thing is, of course, you get a proficiency in a language when you use it enough. And one of the joys of JavaScript for me is that I'm using it on the back end and the front end. And if I contribute to Svelte, I'm using it for the compiler and tooling as well. If you then do something in Rust, you might learn Rust, you might be able to build a compiler in it, whatever. But will you be as proficient in Rust as you will in JavaScript? If not, how long will that take? How many mistakes will you make? How bad is it going to get to the point where you need to start from scratch and rewrite it because you've made some horrendous architectural decisions that were great in JavaScript but suck for Rust and stuff like that. I think it's a huge decision. If you are writing something from scratch, with the view that it's a new product, sure, maybe, but I think if you were writing something that already exists, it's a difficult one to choose.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just I'm not yet convinced. Basically, I think it's the more important layer is the build tool layer, and Svelte kind of lives atop of the build tool layer. So it's, as long as that build tool layer is fast, I don't really need Svelte to be even faster. Like we should try to, I guess, prototype this to really get some numbers on that. But yeah, like Antony said, it's fast enough.
Yeah, that's my hunch as well. But I have no experience at all with Rust, so I wouldn't.
Yeah. I don't even know that it's fast enough. I think it's just fast. Like fast enough would say that it's good enough, but it's actually fast. It's such a quick process. It doesn't need optimization.
It's all about the framing.
Or perhaps the other piece of news item that was discussed in this article on the news stack was that he's considering adopting more of a motion, like a framer motion or React motion mindset.
Oh,
So he says over here, he's been admiring framer motion in React because it does animated layouts, and he thinks that frameworks should treat that stuff as its domain, so you can do some really nice UI design. So I actually haven't played. I mean, I've looked at some of the demos of framer motion, but I haven't really needed it yet. So it'll be interesting to have it first party in Svelte, I guess. Yeah,
same here. Like the transitions and animation stuff in Svelte could probably use a bit of an update, I guess. It'd be cool if there was. It's already pretty good, but it can always get better. That's what I'm saying.
Cool. All right.
Yep.
I put in another link here for Rich and Amelia Wattenberger talking Svelte on JS Party. It's a more of a general conversation, so just for people who catch up on and who like podcasts, like this is another podcast where you can listen to more Svelte stuff. Yeah, who doesn't like Svelte,
All right, so then there's this rising stars thing.
So as far as I understand, they only track like the increase in stars over the 2021, and so apparently Svelte came in number 3. I think actually it's a pretty interesting metric of where people like the relative growth. Like this is actually probably more reflective of the online conversation around adoption So it's not like the base level of adoption. It's like the differences in adoption, and probably this ranking is interesting because React is first, but Vue and Svelte are not far behind, and when we are well ahead of Angular, which is probably true.
Yeah, that's at least it feels like that. I don't know how it actually is inside of like huge enterprise companies. I guess they don't really care about liking stuff on GitHub. Maybe they do. I don't know.
It's interesting to see where Solid is on this list as well, because Solid is kind of bubbling under the surface for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of on lists, which is interesting.
I think they had a re-release of some kind, right?
Yeah, it got a rewrite, and I think it was a little bit different than the original Solid, I suppose. But I mean, the thing about Solid is it's kind of a bit of a bridge between React and people who like JSX, which is a lot of React people, and Svelte, because it's kind of sits somewhere kind of in the middle, which is interesting.
Yeah, I don't like JSX, so.
No, I hate it. I do absolutely hate it. But it's one of those things that it has got quite a following. So if you were to take Svelte and stick JSX on it, I think you'd end up with something a bit like Solid. I think Ryan will kill me for saying that because it's obviously very nuanced. But from my outsider perspective, having never really used Solid that much, that's kind of what it looks like.
Yep. Yeah. Same. That's what it looks like to me as well. All right. So next up, we have a recap of the Svelte language tools from none other than Doom or Simon. He's the main guy on the language tools, right?
Yeah, he didn't used to be that active on Twitter, I think, but I guess over 2021 he started being more public about his work, and I think it's really nice to feature the work that's been going on because people just kind of take it for granted, but the tooling is getting better. And it's everything from the prettier to type checking to like generics. Like there's a lot of TypeScript stuff, but I think some new people who are new to Svelte get the impression that Svelte is so heavily into TypeScript when actually, no, it's just sort of optional language tooling.
Yeah. And he does a lot of work as well. He seems to be a bit of a machine. He's also like, we see him working on language tools and stuff, but actually he's really active in kind of everything. In the maintainers channel, for example, he's always busy helping out with the various bits and bobs that come up with Vite and stuff like that. So Vite, one day I'll get it right. So absolutely. That the external is just a small subsection of all the stuff he does. Yeah.
Cool. This one's yours. The next one's.
The big one. The really big one. I think most people like the Svelte REPL, right? It's a key feature of Svelte, almost.
Yes.
And you haven't been able to delete REPLs or search REPLs, but now you can. It's amazing. And if you haven't tried it out, you should try it out. And you should delete your old crappy REPLs that you've accidentally saved that have been lying around for years.
Yeah. So I forget the exact reasoning behind this, but I believe we've changed the underlying stack for the REPL as well as part of the migration to SvelteKit.
Oh, what is it on?
Well, that's about I don't know. I know that it was on something like CodeMirror maybe or something. The whole thing that underpins the REPL is quite heavy, but it's moved to something a little more lightweight, I think. I think one of the things that triggered this has been a lot of discussions around Stack Blitz, because the REPL is great for Svelte on its own, but obviously a lot of our focus now is on SvelteKit, and SvelteKit being the thing that you build Svelte apps with. Even if you're just building a little component, the view would be that you're building it in SvelteKit and then running a command which creates a library from it, with a view to the old templates kind of moving out of the way and SvelteKit being the entry point. So that poses a problem because you can't run that stuff in the browser, at least currently. Stack Blitz goes a little bit of the way towards, well, a lot of the way towards that. So you've got web containers. So everything, even the node environment, runs inside your browser. It's kind of like Docker in your browser, which is amazing, which means you can run a full stack app. You can run SvelteKit. So the only hold up really with Stack Blitz, one thing I guess being that it is like a VC funded kind of company, and to rely on a company is quite an investment of various things. To move from something that's open and built by ourselves as well. But the other thing is, I think it only works with Chrome right now because the web container standard is kind of being generated by in the Chrome world and by Chrome. So I think that there will be work to try to get SvelteKit running the browser somehow. Whether Stack Blitz or web containers becomes part of that, I don't know. But I think all of this stuff has triggered a point where we've gone, well, the REPL's great, but is it a bit clunky now, and does it need some love?
Yeah, the REPL is pretty nice. I like it. There was actually a suggestion yesterday about writing a Vite plugin that makes it so you can import components from the REPL.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it kind of cool. Yeah, right. It reminds me a bit about like the Dino way of doing things. You just like insert a URL, or right? That's how it works.
Yeah, there's also the Skypack way of doing things, I suppose, as well.
Skypack is dead, I think.
No, Snowpack's dead. Skypack's not dead.
Oh, right. Snowpack is dead. Yes.
Yeah, Skypack is like the thing where
CDN.
you pull npm modules from
Right.
a cloud type thing, not a centralized repo, something like that. I don't know. But yeah. So anyway, the REPL's getting a bit of an overhaul, and it has had a bit of an overhaul. It's getting more. But I mean, I build a lot of my components in the REPL still. I definitely do use it every day as a thing. Especially even people will crack open CodePen and stuff and start writing, but compared to the Svelte REPL, CodePen is slow for me, so I just use the REPL for everything.
Yeah, I use the Svelte REPL to test HTML.
Same.
Exactly.
I don't actually even need Svelte. I just like chuck it in there because it's so much faster than CodePen.
Exactly.
But I mean, for me, I'm most excited when we can add social features to Svelte REPLs. I think that we could effectively turn the Svelte REPL page into the de facto component library for anything Svelte. And imagine if we didn't have to split it between Svelte Society and the Svelte REPL page. Like, people can just discover what they need and pull it off of there. Yeah. So that's my dream.
And especially with a plugin that lets you just import it from
that
the
one.
REPL.
I'm actually, I don't care about so much because it just copy paste. Like, it's not that big.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
The great thing about Svelte, you can copy paste an entire single file component, and it has everything that it needs.
I think one thing that might hold that back slightly, of course, is the fact that the REPL doesn't use GitHub gists anymore.
Yeah.
Gists. I'm terrible at pronunciation today.
Yeah.
So we're paying for infrastructure for that, which isn't the end of the world, but it's we've got sponsorship for that reason. But if you try and make it very social, work on every site, then you racking up quite a bill then.
Yeah.
People will pay that.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think
it's
they
not
will,
that expensive. Yeah, storage is cheap.
I think they will.
Should be workable.
Cool.
All right.
Well, the next item is going to be quick because none of us has tried this, but there's a there's a port of Remix into Svelte called Svmix, and people are most entertained with the name.
Yeah.
Isn't
the website
Remix,
is nice as well.
Like, I thought Remix was supposed to be language agnostic.
I think it probably is. Probably not yet.
Yeah, they have hinted that they might be. Basically, like it's a. So for those who don't know, like, Remix is kind of Michael Jackson and Ryan Florence's attempt at taking React Router and turning into a full stack framework, and their focus is very much on rendering on demand, and then also doing a few things that Next.js doesn't do for the React community. For example, like nested layouts, which Scott Zielinski has been very vocal about. It seems at initial glance that Remix is very focused on React because all two of the founders plus Ken Sida's work there, and they're very, very heavily React. But they've been dropping hints that they're going to be framework agnostic. So I think probably the first framework they're going to tackle is Svelte.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
They should have called it Reamtify.
What?
It's like Routify. Remix is like Routify, right? It's a router that is a framework, so therefore it should be called Reamtify. I might talk to Ken and see if he wants to change the name.
No, you're not allowed to name things ever again.
Reamtify? That's an odd one.
Reamtify.
Right.
Reamtify run. Hang on.
All right. So I can actually talk a bit about like how this works.
Yeah.
So you know how in SvelteKit you have to usually proxy your fetches. So you can't just like stick everything in the load function because it'll be exposed to the client. So the way this works is they have a Vite plugin that basically takes a script tag and you write your backend code in there and it just auto generates the load function for you. So you get it automatically set up in your in your routes basically. And it generates the endpoint as well that you need for that. It's pretty cool. It's actually very, very nice. So you can just write. I guess it's just like in Remix. You can talk to your database and stuff like that, and it won't be exposed to the client.
So a bit like Meteor then as well. Like didn't Meteor do this?
I'm sure it did. But didn't Meteor also have like a weird? Well, it wasn't weird, I guess, but just more of a interactive way of handling data between server and client.
Yeah, it did. It didn't have like a restful kind of focus. It was something like more like I don't know, like WebSockets. I don't know how it worked, but
Gotcha.
I remember you writing server code in it.
Yeah, I remember that. Essentially, it was like you had a local clone of your server inside of your client-side application, and then Meteor would handle the syncing between client and server. So it's pretty smart because you never need to write optimistic updates. Like it just does it on its own for the most part, and that's a really nice experience. But it does add a bit to the JavaScript weight. And I think people had problems with everything in the Meteor stack being proprietary, including the package manager. So
yeah.
All right. Oh,
yeah.
Well, Swemix is something to check out at least. It seems pretty cool.
I guess the next time I moved this up because like this is probably more sort of philosophically aligned with the other stuff that we've been talking about. So Rich launched Svelte Cubed at Svelte Summit, and I think people have been playing around with it. I had to go learn 3JS a little bit before I could really understand Svelte Cubed, and basically Svelte Cubed is declarative 3JS. And people have been doing nice demos. I think this Expanse one I hadn't seen, but maybe you can talk about it, Kev.
Yeah, so the Expanse is, if you haven't heard it, it's a TV adaptation of a couple of books. I haven't read them, but I've watched the show. I really like the show. And this guy Alex made I guess he used Svelte Cubed and a 3D model of the Rocinante. That's the ship, the main character's ship in the show, I guess you could say. And he's added like a Earth in there and Mars and yeah, it's pretty cool actually. So you should definitely check that out. There's a whole thread on Twitter.
Yeah, he made some notes as to like what does Svelte Cubed really do for you over and above just normal 3JS. So obviously it turns it declarative. I think that's a very standard feature of 3JS framework. I think React 3 Fiber also does the same thing. It builds in responsiveness. It does drop in orbit controls that just work, and then on-demand or constant animation loop. So basically, like I think it's pretty funny. Like there's no animation loop in 3JS. You have to kind of build it yourself, and that's silly. Like you might as well just have one as part of the framework.
For sure.
Cool.
All right.
It's a good demo.
Yep, for sure. And then there's also the newsletter is out. The monthly newsletter that Daniel writes. It's on the Svelte blog as usual.
Yeah, we should have him on. Actually, I don't think we've ever talked to him, but yeah, we do have a Substack for people who don't know, and but it's also on the Svelte blog. Anything big here? I don't really like. There's just a bunch of feature updates. Yeah,
pretty much. So I'm still speaking of feature updates. Or no, I'll wait with this. I'll take it after we talk about the newsletter. I don't think there's anything in particular. I think. Oh yeah. So the syntax guys, Scott and Wes, did a how to do things in Svelte episode. So that's pretty interesting to people to listen to. Though I guess if they're listening to this podcast, they're probably also listening to Syntax, so they already know this. But for any of you who
Not
don't...
necessarily. I actually had to I had to trim my podcast list, and Syntax got cut.
No? Oh no. Oh no.
That's
So
unfortunate.
so you have too many podcasts you listen to?
Too
I
many
guess?
podcasts. Too many podcasts.
Yeah.
But no, I listen every now and then whenever it's convenient. Because like the big ones, you hear about the really popular episodes on Twitter anyway.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I don't need to tune into every single one.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, so I guess we could talk a bit about Svelte Headless UI, because I know a lot of people like Tailwind. And so this is a Headless UI port, I guess, or implementation. Not sure exactly what you'd call it.
Yeah, it's a port. Yeah.
Yep. So basically lets you use Headless UI in Svelte in I suppose a nice way, like developer experience. Nice.
For me, it's not just about the developer experience. It's about someone who knows what they're doing, taking care of the accessibility stuff for you, and not being too opinionated on styling, which is, I think, the right level of extraction. Like most people, they just want very commodified components, like give me a button, give me a modal, whatever, and just handle the accessibility for me. But I control the content and how it looks. That's fine. That's a really good contract between end developer and the framework or library author.
Yeah, I mean it's probably very nice for like teams that are developing design systems using Tailwind, I guess. They don't have to really care about the accessibility stuff.
No, I'm very happy that this project exists.
All right, cool. So, Antony, do you have any secret items from the maintainers meetings that you can
I mean, they're definitely not secrets. Yeah, I was just looking through the list now. I would say that things that are of interest would be, and there's a number of discussions around style directives and Svelte element, which are certainly things that have had a lot of debate. I think the other things that are quite interesting are the white space discussions. So these have been going on for quite a long time.
So what's that?
Well, so white space has always been a point of contention because how is it best handled? Where should it and should it not appear? So there's talk about white space in between elements, white space at the start end of logic blocks, and the M space and EN space. I don't know what EN space is, but essentially there's actually discrepancy, I think, between SSR and CSR, which is, server-side rendering and client-side rendering. And it's one of the reasons that Routify went with JS DOM to render their SSR, because the white space is actually slightly different between those two rendering methods. And I think there's always been a view to fixing that. I don't know why it's not been done earlier, but now I think there's enough people are talking about it that we need to kind of fix it somehow. So it's a discussion around how to handle white space, where white space should appear. Because don't forget, it's generated output. It's not really important unless it affects rendering. And in modern browsers, white space doesn't generally affect rendering. But I think it does have enough of an impact that needs to be sorted out. So there'll be a discussion around what to do with it, what issues are raised on it, what PRs could fix various bits, and also, not trying to break everything in the process, because if you're removing white space, it does affect rendering. That is a breaking change, obviously. Right. I think there's discussion around newer technologies such as resize observers. We're in a position now in the browser kind of landscape where we can start using these things. So it's a matter of moving towards using these rather than using kind of old, outdated techniques for compatibility. What else is there?
Makes sense.
Svelte config definition. So again, it's never been a formal thing. We absorbed the best bits of what we saw in the community anyway. I think it's always been a view to formalize it so that compatibility gets better between different frameworks, and also people who are building a new thing that uses config know where to put their custom stuff. There's also a discussion of some new team members, which obviously I won't mention who, but some more people have caught the attention of us, and will be asked if they want to join the core or become ambassadors and stuff like that. It's fun.
That's nice.
Yeah,
cool.
There's a bunch of stuff that's it's nice because now we have this, we have Rich full time on this stuff, and we're not completely waiting for contention of people having jobs where they've got spare time. We're actually able to kind of progress with these things a bit faster than we used to, which is quite nice.
Yeah, so that's actually something I've noticed, like the amount of work that's been done since Rich started working full time at Vercel. It's definitely increased a lot. Like you can see it in the repos as well, in the number of commits, the number of.
I mean, I think it's given a lot of confidence to people, so we're getting more contributions. But I think also there was never a problem with Rich's output per se, because he's a machine, right? He can spend a little bit of time doing a lot. But I think what happened, of course, is because generally decisions end up at Rich because it kind of is his thing.
Right.
And it's the world, to say the world right now, you've got this, COVID, you've got all these crazy things going on, and he's working in news. Those two things are going to absorb all your time and really reduce the amount of time you've got to work on stuff like Svelte. So yeah, it definitely removes a kind of, I'd say, a bottleneck that we have. So it definitely helps with that.
Yeah. Yeah, from the stuff that you mentioned, I think the things that I'm mostly looking forward to is the style directive and the.
Yes.
So that's like the class colon thing, but for styles. I like that. And there are also PRs for this already, right?
There are, yeah. A lot of these things are, what do we do about these PRs? Are we happy with them? Do they need to be changed, etc., etc. Some things are still just issues, but usually when an issue gets to the point where we discuss it, there's already a PR by somebody. It might be somebody who's kind of run away with it without really discussion, and it might be the wrong way to do it, and we might have to go back to them and say, look, how about this instead? But sometimes it's just like, do we merge, do we not merge? End of. Actually, one thing that I should mention that's interesting is smaller and faster compiler output. Having just said that that I personally at least am really happy with the speed of the compiler. It's interesting someone's done that. This isn't like convert to Rust or anything. This is just improvements to the existing compilers. So actually, I'll this is issue 3898.
3898.
So that might be worth a read for some people. Just for fun, really. Oh, it's Rich raised it. Interesting. About 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I was defending. So Svelte was on Hacker News like about 2 days ago. And people were raising the point about how Svelte's overhead and all that, if it starts to really pile up if you have a lot of components. And then I had to go give them the research on like, okay, but it takes a lot of components to get there, and you'll never get there because of code splitting.
Name an application that does this.
something that is more Svelte in its output would be better as well.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I don't know what this actually involves, but there's a few little metrics here. I mean, the size for me is it's a few kilobytes difference, right? It's not like game changing, but hey, it's an optimization, and why not?
It's going to save a lot of trees,
Hopefully, yeah. If it builds up, that's very true.
Yeah. All right.
I have two things from Antony's monologue there. So there is this Svelte ambassadors group, and that is something that's also new in the past 1 or 2 months, and that's basically the Svelte Society people plus Svelte maintainers coordinating more unofficially. I don't know if we have a goal or like a special
I think
handshake
it's
or
just
badge. I think we need a special handshake.
Yeah, for sure. Something that forms like 2 S's or something for Svelte Society. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just for like highlighting people that are in the community.
Yeah. Well, also, I think, we get more spammers. We get just all sorts of community issues that are going to be cropping up as Svelte grows. So I think it's a necessary thing. The second part is a fun parsing story, whitespace. So did you know when you do SQL, right? Like select star from, did you know the whitespace around star is optional?
I had no idea.
I didn't, but it shouldn't.
I guess it kind of makes sense.
So yeah, basically like if you work in a parser and you're parsing, letter by letter, and then when you find something to tokenize, then you consume it, you don't actually need white space, and the white space is only there for readability. This is something I just learned, so
Oh, wow.
I relate to white space discussions for compiler people.
White space around a control character like a star, perhaps, but obviously you'd need it around other
Letters.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
So
fun fact.
So is there a reason why you'd want to skip the white space?
No.
No. All right. Okay.
Just a fun fact.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Just to show off your knowledge.
Yeah.
Because the thread that I found it on, they were discussing like, okay, yeah, but it doesn't, like sometimes the keyword in SQL spans 2 words, like insert from, or I forget what the example was. So obviously white space does matter there because it's 2 words. Anyway, it's a fun fact.
All right. So I guess we can talk a bit about Svelte Society. You have 2 things up here, Sean.
Oh yeah, just quick notes for people. If anyone listening is in Dublin, Svelte Dublin is up for adoption. The person who started it can no longer carry on with it. So get in touch with them, and we put the link in the show notes. And Svelte Portugal, I think Porfiro is signing people up. They're trying to return to in-person meetings, in-person meetups. So I just want to give a highlight to these local communities because the magic of in-person is always helpful.
Yeah. Damn COVID. It does really throw wrenches in gears,
It does
I guess you
indeed.
could say. Yeah. All right. So other news in Svelte Society. So the website is being rebuilt and there's going to be a lot of cool features on there. Yeah, we're moving to a CMS-based system. So instead of having just the GitHub stuff, it's going to be a lot easier to handle like all the components and all of the starter templates and all of that stuff that's currently just sitting in like huge JSON files. So that's going to be nice.
Which
Actually
which
have a
CMS are
system.
you using?
So haven't decided yet, but I'm looking at a few different ones. So Supabase is one that I'm looking at. Directus is another. It seems pretty nice.
Yeah, very impressive actually. So I had a chat with
right.
Ben from Directus, and they seem very low profile, but they've been doing this for something ridiculous like 10 years, and they've built out a lot of functionality.
Yeah, it does look really nice.
I would actually categorize them as more of like a UI layer for Postgres than a CMS.
Yep.
But they can be used as a CMS.
Yeah. I mean, it's not so the people that are going to handle the CMS are going to be technical anyway, so it should be fine, even if something is a bit odd. But yeah. So we'll have we'll split it up into 2 parts. We'll have the community side, and then we'll have the resources side, pretty much. So that's going to be fun, and I think people are going to like it.
Yeah, and I think for those who don't know, Kev went full time, and he's sort of looking for support. And I guess whatever, plug your stuff. But I think it's very encouraging for Svelte Society that we can hopefully make this more of a well maintained effort rather than a side project of everybody.
Yeah. I guess this should have been like a main topic, I think, probably.
I mean, there's
Anyway,
other
when you say
episodes,
Svelte
isn't
Society, like that is it, right? You're managing the community and growing the central resources that hopefully other people can use. That's part of it,
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then there's also
Sirens, yeah.
Yeah, Svelte Sirens. They're doing a lot of events. Brittany, I think, she's done an amazing job here with the website, and also like I think she's organized a lot of the events and stuff. So they've already run a couple of small live streams on the Svelte Society YouTube channel. Oh, that's something to check out as well. The Svelte Society YouTube channel. Anyway, so they've done a couple of talks there, one on Routify and another one, I don't exactly remember. Could have been a design system one, but you should check them out anyway. And there are a couple of upcoming ones. So one about using adapters in SvelteKit and another one about animating with Svelte.
overall, I'm really enjoying, like, the Sirens initiative was always like a bit, I wasn't sure how it would turn out, but like you have good people running it. Plus, like, I think the Discord channel actually is coming more live as well. So I'm really enjoying seeing that happen.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely something to check out if you're interested.
Cool.
All right. So I guess that's it for topics. Or do you guys have any?
That's it for topics.
That's it for topics. All right. So unpopular opinions. Let's hear it, Antony.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I love cryptocurrency, right? I love the blockchain. I like proof of stake. I don't believe in proof of work because I think that I like the environment more. But I just want to say that NFTs are crap and they need to die off as soon as possible. I think that the current notion of NFTs, which is stupid pictures of monkeys, no one cares. It's not art. It's not impressive. No one cares if you collect them or not. It just doesn't matter. It's rubbish. But what I would say is that NFT, the concept of NFT, has been used in the real world for quite a long time on the Bitcoin blockchain by galleries in Mayfair. They've been actually putting art provenance of real artworks on the blockchain way before the whole notion of an ERC token which creates NFTs existed. So it is a real thing. It has a real use case. But what we call NFTs now, anything you look up that says NFT, is absolute horse crap and should be duly ignored. And it's an unpopular opinion, but I think that anyone sane will go with it.
Yeah. All right. So so did you actually know that NFTs were a thing way back, like in Bitcoin? So they're like the current. So sorry. So the current what would you call like the current Web3 NFT thing, with the apes and all of that stuff?
Well, it's Ethereum really, isn't it?
Ethereum. But so this was already a thing on the Bitcoin blockchain. Like there was a thing called rare pepes, which was popular back in like 2013, I think, where you could just like have a rare Pepe wallet and you could own like Pepe images, basically. It's pretty dorky. But
was that before?
It
or
sounds
after
equally as rubbish
CryptoKitties?
as the current NFTs, to be honest.
Sorry, CryptoKitties?
Was that before or after CryptoKitties? Because that's
Before.
my. Oh,
Before,
really? Okay.
for sure. Yeah. So this is like way back.
Right.
It might actually even have been before Ethereum was released. So it's built on top of I think it was Counterparty. Anyway, we should probably do an episode on cryptocurrencies. We'd get into
Yeah. I'm probably like the least involved out of all of us. But I'm also interested in learning more. And since you have strong opinions, we can do a whole episode on it.
I have nothing against Web3. I have nothing against NFT, like the technology, the ERC token that underpins it. What I have a problem with is pictures of monkeys or like bears or any other rubbish that people are claiming is somehow valuable, because it's not.
What do you think about everybody putting their name.eth on their Twitter?
It's just a bit annoying, isn't it, really?
It's a little annoying.
Yeah, I agree. But they're cool.
Sure.
They're not.
Domain names are cool, right? They're the coolest thing ever.
That's what they're trying to like message out to their followers. Anyway,
I'm going to put Antony.com. How about that? Even though I don't own it, I'm just going to put it on there.
All right.
.net.
So I'll do my unpopular opinion. I usually don't have one, but this one is very important to me. And so it's actually that Safari is the best browser. It's better than Chrome. It's better than Firefox. And you know why? Because there's amazing color support in Safari. If you've ever been to the Svelte Summit website, which I hope you guys have been to, and you try it on a Mac and you try the Safari browser and then you try it in Firefox, for example, or Chrome, you'll actually see a huge difference in like the actual color that's used.
Yeah.
What is this color space called?
So the color space. So there's a function in CSS called color, which is only supported in Safari for now, and it allows you to use a wider color gamut, so you can see more colors in the Safari browser. Yeah. So I think the Svelte Summit one uses DCI P3, which is pretty much what the MacBooks and the iPhones support at the moment.
Yeah, because who cares if like Grid doesn't render properly and Flexbox doesn't render properly, and you can't see elements and they collapse and overlap because the colors look good. Really important stuff there.
You know, who's right there though? Is the Grid actually rendering correctly, or is it incorrectly?
I mean, there's literally a standard that it can adhere to if it wants to, if it fancies it.
Well, I'm skeptical. Anyway.
Okay. I'll write all my thoughts down and I'll make sure they all render terribly in Safari, and then you can read through them.
It just
Only
needs to
if they're in
display
good color.
Apple.com has to look good. That's me.
Yeah.
And also the Chrome download page. As long as that works, that's what it needs Safari to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Does it remind you of any other browsers? Just off chance. But,
I actually, I recently installed Linux on my workstation, and so I'm using Firefox there, which is a bummer. And it doesn't look like Safari, So I themed it to look like Safari.
Good.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah. you can actually run Safari on Linux, right?
Yeah, but it's not the real Safari, right? It's the
Epiphany.
Yeah, it's just
Epiphany
a WebKit implementation.
Yeah, but it's basically Safari. It's WebKit Edge. It's as close as it's closer than anything else, I think.
I wonder if there's color support in that.
Oh gosh. Oh, I hope so. Oh.
All right.
Mine's a quick one. I wrote something about Turbo Repo, and that's another Vercel acquisition that came alongside with Rich Harris and a bunch of other people that have joined Vercel recently. And I've been converted to the monorepo religion. I think people have been talking about its benefits for years. The problem with monorepos is that the tooling hasn't been there, but I think the tooling is coming there and the investment is coming into the monorepos community. And I think that's going to make it grow, because finally someone is actually making tooling that is accessible to everyone else. So I'm looking for opportunities to convert more stuff to monorepos. I'm starting out new projects with monorepos, and I think it makes sense. Like, you want to build dependencies, you want to co-locate dependencies, and you want to build them alongside each other. So it even opens the question of, like, does Svelte have a monorepo someday, or does Svelte already have a monorepo in some sense? Like, a lot of people basically like start evolving them internally, and then like there's always like the big refactor into a monorepo at some point. I think that will be this year.
You say does Svelte have a monorepo? You mean like Svelte
publishing
itself?
Multiple packages? Yeah, Svelte does, right? Like that's how you publish a bunch of plugins and stuff.
Yeah, Kit uses a PNPM, yeah.
But like Svelte Cubes is a separate repo, Svelte Kit is a separate repo, Svelte Language Tools is a separate repo. Like, what if we need to ship features across all of them, or like stuff like that,
Yeah, I think it's about logical grouping. I think that's probably the hardest part about these things. Yeah. So I think it's actually really, I don't know. Yeah, I was off monorepos for a long time because the tooling wasn't there. Learner didn't really do it for me at all. But PNPM is really changed it for me. I haven't tried Turbo, obviously, but could be good in the future. PNPM and change sets is kind of what I envisaged monorepos to be before it existed. It's what I wanted before I even knew I wanted it, I guess. Basically committing code to a bunch of repositories, adding a metadata file, using a CLI command, and having a pull request opened that once you merge, it does the rest of the workflow for you. It updates, it tags, it pushes to NPM, etc. That's amazing. Like, I really, really like it. So if Turbo can do the same stuff, then amazing. I'm all in.
Nice. I know close to nothing about monorepos. I need to get into it. Or
the PNPM docs.
Sound.
Well, they're like 1 page long. They are. You can learn it pretty quick, and it's really nice.
Nice. All right. I guess we're on picks.
Yes.
Should I go first?
Yeah. What is fat washing? What is this?
Yeah. So it sounds disgusting, right? It sounds weird, at least. So fat washing. So over the holidays, I've been heavily into drinking cocktails over the holidays.
Fair enough.
I haven't drunk a lot of them, but just like the idea of like mixing cocktails is one that appeals to me.
Yeah.
So I've been getting into this new thing called fat washing. Well, I guess it's not new, but it's new to me. And it basically involves you get some kind of fat or oil or something, and then you mix it with a spirit. So, for example, I did a browned butter combined with a rum. So you take maybe 1/4 brown butter and the rest rum, and then you shake it up and you let it sit for a couple of hours, and then so the problem there is you need to separate it, right? So you do it by you freeze it, and so the fat just freezes, and then once it's frozen, you just take out the fat, and you're left with the spirit that has a taste of whatever oil you put in it. So the rum that I made tastes of brown butter, which is pretty cool. And over the holidays, I did a couple of weird ones. So I tried my hand at doing a blue cheese like gin, which was not good. That's
That's
don't
interesting.
do it.
I've seen someone selling that, so that's interesting you say that.
Oh, maybe I just failed then. But yeah, so you could do it with all kinds of stuff. I did a gin with olive oil, a gin with avocado oil. There was I read someone had made like a carbonara gin. So they took the like guanciale, like the pig's cheek thing that you have in carbonara, and like rendered the fat and put that into a gin. That's pretty weird. Anyway, yep.
I'll go next then. Man, I like fat washing. I didn't know it was called that, but yeah, that's I like it too. So my pick is I bought my wife for Christmas an Oculus. It was not a present that I expected to be buying, and it's not one that I thought I needed until I went to my friend's house and spent 4 minutes playing with one, and I was immediately sold. So yeah, the Oculus is mind blowing. Literally, it's so good. It's so good, in fact, that when she unwrapped it, she spent half an hour admiring the update screen whilst it installed updates, just literally watching a dialogue. It's that good because it's in 3D space. It's in the in this virtual world.
That is cool.
And yeah, we're playing around with it, playing various games and experiences, and you can do like roller coaster rides, and it's just incredible. It's just a really nice thing to use.
Is it worth getting one?
Yes, and it's worth getting one, and also relative to what you might imagine it might cost, they're quite cheap. It's a shame that now Facebook have bought them, but c'est la vie. It happens, doesn't it? But it's a great product. I really like it.
Yeah, I think apparently they were one of the most popular gifts, holiday gifts over last year, because they went to the top of the App Store. Like you can tell how well they're doing in sales because you have to download an app alongside it, and they top the App Store.
It's worth actually mentioning that it can be used without a computer. That's one of the big interesting things about it. A lot of the previous ones you need to connect it to something, or you need standalone cameras in a room to see where you are. This has the cameras built in, and you don't need a computer. You can use a computer, you don't need one. And what that means is you've got this very standalone headset you just put on and play. Very cool.
Did I tell you about the time that I got very into VR in 2016? No. And I bought a HTC Vive, and I built my own PC, and I rented a apartment with a separate room just for the Vive.
Wow, you really were into VR.
Full stack. No, because I thought I was thinking about making it my thing, right? And it was cool, especially playing the early games. Rec Room is really good, but the just the sheer amount of equipment that you need, and you get fatigue from wearing these things too much. I don't think I'm a believer in that people are going to live in the Ready Player One type of world for long periods of time.
Yeah. No.
So we'll see. I mean, I think it would never bet against technology. If in 50 years, this will be a lot smaller and a lot better in terms of the rendering quality. So
little sunglasses would be cool.
Google Glass.
Yeah.
Okay, well, mine will be a quick one just because it's not very unpopular. I got myself an iPhone 13, and it's the fastest phone I've ever had, and no regrets. And I even went for the big one. I used to be scared of very large form factors because you can't reach the whole surface area. I've given up on that. Like the phone is for reading, so you want as big of a screen as possible. As long as it can fit in your pocket, it's fine. So iPhone 13 Pro Max has just done it for me. It just feels a lot faster than my previous iPhone, and this also marks a transition for me because I was experimenting with Android for a bit. And I realized that just the sheer amount of apps that are iPhone only has forced me to be on iPhone.
Yeah. And also it's got the world's worst browser like embedded and forced upon you as well.
Best
So it's
browser.
extra good. You can have the true Kev experience and no way to opt out of it.
Just need to focus on the right things, Antony.
The colors. It's the
Exactly.
colors.
The colors are really good.
Really vibrant.
Don't
Yeah.
you like it though when the colors really pop?
No. Actually, I might put it black and white.
Yeah. Anyway, so my take on the experimenting with Android and then going back to iPhone is that I think iOS has the best OS, but the worst browser, but not as good of a browser. Whereas Android has the best browser because it's really tightly integrated. Like I've never had such a smooth experience with passwords and history and all that going from desktop to mobile. But they don't have as good of an operating system. That's the trade-off, really.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
On
it.
that note, I guess we're done. Cool. Thank you all for listening, and
Thanks, everyone.
we'll talk in the next one, I guess.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.